coverage of bow ties and boxing live from Extravaganza on North Tryon Street in Charlotte is on the air. ADSN at Fight Night. What an incredible experience this is, and if any of you grew up with boxing like I did, being in close, intimate contact with these boxers, these professional boxers, these guys that have come all the way from New Jersey, some are right here in Charlotte. These guys are from all walks of life. This is a great night. We are seeing some great fights, and we're gonna have coverage as the night goes on, backstage coverage. We're not gonna be streaming any of the fights, but we are gonna provide backstage coverage. We're gonna talk to many of the newsmakers behind the scenes to give you an idea of what goes on to put a boxing event like this on. It's very unique and very, very local, and that's what I love about this. ADSN is committed to providing backstage coverage you can't get anywhere else of these boxing events, and we're gonna bring you, again, some of the newsmakers and maybe even talk to some of the fans and really bring you behind the scenes, really kind of paint the picture. Bow ties and boxing on North Tryon Street. Still time to get on here and get some tickets. So.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kemba Walker, but no Lei'D.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow.
As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kemba would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.
What is next for you, young man?
Next opponent, 122. I'm coming for you. Anything from 122, 119. I'll go up to 125, 126, 27, 28, 29. I'm gonna take over.
Congratulations on a great fight.
Thank you. Shout out to everybody back in New Orleans. We open the door back for boxing.
Congratulations, man. All right, that is prime example. Backstage coverage, bow ties and boxing here on North Tryon Street. Extravaganza is the venue, and we are pleased to bring this to you. ADSN1 is the only network providing this type of coverage. What I mean by this type of coverage is bringing you in close, intimate contact with the newsmakers here at Bow Tie and Boxing. If you grew up with boxing, there's a stigma going on, especially with UFC now, that boxing is dying, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Boxing is very much here to stay, and in terms of how to cover boxing, how we report boxing, it's just being at local events like this. This is where it starts out. This is where it starts out. It starts out at venues like this and branches out. We're seeing fighters from all over. Literally all over. We have fighters from New Jersey. We have fighters from Florida here tonight. We have fighters from, obviously, Charlotte, North Carolina, and those probably are the most exciting type of fights when you get fighters hungry from New Jersey coming here. There was a fighter a couple of fights ago, and he was talking in the post-game interview in the ring. He was talking about what's next for him and where he's been. He's been to Japan already, and they said, what did you do in Japan? He said, well, I just enjoyed a fight, and I was treated very well, but I focused on fighting. And here's the man right here. Here's the man right here. This man is he is the preeminent fighter. Why don't you introduce yourself to our viewing audience?
It's the one and only Boy Wonder 150, Michael Williams Jr., baby. WBF champ, UMBC champ. I'm 8-0, baby, 6 KOs. You know, I'm just striving to the top, baby.
I feel like Jim Gray stealing the microphone back from Mike Tyson. So who's influenced you? You're obviously being trained by Roy Jones. Who's influenced you?
It's just my parents, my dad, and just everybody that supported me when I was in the amateurs, and just they was the biggest supporters pretty much. So.
What is the boxing game like for people that don't know? What is the boxing game like now?
It's hard. It's hard. It's time consuming. Just a lot of work throughout it. You know, just the training is the hardest part. The fights is the easiest part. It's just the training. That's what's just hard, and dedication pretty much, man.
I was talking about the stigma that boxing is dead and UFC is taking over, but I also said that couldn't be further from the truth. Boxing is here. It's maybe rooted locally more so than it was when Tyson and Evander Holyfield were at their prime. But where is the state of boxing? Where are we at right now with this sport?
I think boxing is on a big come up. To me personally, I think it's bigger than MMA. But I feel like boxing is on the come up. We have some young fighters looking to be on, at the top. So I think boxing's doing pretty good now.
What would it mean for you to bring boxing back to where it was?
I mean, that's what I'm trying to do right now. I feel like I'm able to do that. So I'm just going to keep working hard and try to get to the top to do that.
I know obviously you're not fighting until February 8th in Raleigh, but what do events like this do for the sport of boxing? Great local talent we're seeing, all the fans are enjoying it. What does this night mean for somebody like you that loves boxing?
It's just one of these shows like this is just to support your local, talent, or just any fighters that, started boxing in North Carolina, just come out and support them. I mean, this is my last fight. I fought on here when I won a WBF title, so it's good shows like this.
All right, congratulations, man. We'll see you on February 8th. Stay healthy, my man. God bless. All right, here's the champ right here. We're coming back. ADSN's coverage of bow ties and boxing continues from Extravaganza.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kemba Walker for No Leezy.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time. Wow. As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.
Coaches, and first of all, thanks for joining us. What does this night mean to you to promote local boxing and see the upswing of young local boxing talent that we have in the area?
Well, it means a great deal for me because boxing is not Charlotte is not a boxing state or city, and we're trying to promote boxing in here to bring in the fighters and make this a boxing city, to make this enjoyable where people could come in and actually watch boxing.
You say Charlotte, North Carolina is not a boxing city or state. However, there are a lot of talented, passionate local fighters that want to bring the sport itself back to prominence. In a sense, can we make Charlotte a great boxing city?
Oh, definitely can make it, because we do have a lot of talent. A lot of people around the areas and the local gyms have a lot of talent. Now getting them all together and promoting the fights and leaving the fights here in Charlotte to build Charlotte base of boxing is very important.
Yeah, what do we need to do that? Obviously nights like this are what we need to do more of. What else do we need to do to promote the sport on the local side and bring it back up to where we know it should be?
Well, to get the public and everyone interested in it. Bring more people in, more people start following boxing and supporting these young fighters who are professional fighters who want to build a career in boxing and want to bring championship belts into Charlotte, so where they have their pride. This is where they live at. And they don't want to go outside and keep fighting outside of Charlotte. They want to fight in Charlotte and bring people in to show Charlotte how talented these fighters are in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I've been engaging with the viewers all night long and talking about my experiences and my passion for boxing. When I was a young kid, I watched Mike Tyson. I used to get so mad because Tyson, you ordered a pay-per-view fight and it would only last a minute or two. What separates a good boxer from an average boxer?
What separates them is will and skill. willing to put the work in during training camp and skill that you're being taught by your trainers, and you follow the instruction. And the biggest thing is discipline. You have to have the discipline. Boxing, during a boxing camp, you have to, nothing else is more important to you than this boxing camp. So when you are in boxing camp, nothing else matters but boxing, and the performers put on a good show for people to want to follow you and say, hey, I like this fighter. And also, how do you carry yourself in and out of the ring? That's a big deal. I don't train people to be fighting gangsters. I train to be fighting gentlemen. And that's the big thing.
Last question for you. As a coach, can you teach discipline?
Definitely can teach discipline. Definitely. That's what coaches are. Their real job is to teach discipline. To teach the fighter. You cannot be great as a fighter if you don't have discipline. And it has shown in history great fighters who lose their discipline, start losing in the fights.
Right.
And so if you maintain your discipline, you'll be a great fighter.
All right, Danny Smalls, one of the great local boxing coaches, one of Levante Early's boxing coaches. Thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for talking boxing. Always enjoyed that. We are live from Bow Ties and Boxing, live from Extravaganza on North Tryon Street. Still time to come out here, 1601 North Tryon, right outside of Uptown. ADSN 1's coverage of Bow Ties and Boxing from Extravaganza continues straight ahead.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kimber Walker for No Leezy.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow.
As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.
The physical side is the part that everybody sees, is the part that everybody kind of glorifies and like, oh yeah, boxers are some of the most in shape people in the world, and that's definitely true. But it's the mental preparation that is really the hardest thing about boxing. You know, and I'm sure you've heard many great trainers and great boxers say that this thing is 90% mental and 10% physical, and that just is a testament to how much physical, how physically fit we have to be as athletes overall, and then on top of that, the mental capacity that it takes to do something like this. So, I mean, that's why I respect anybody that is able to step in there, no matter what their rank or no matter what their level, because I'm telling you, the mental aspect of this game is just tremendous.
We were talking to your coach, one of your coaches, Danny Smalls, and he ran past us and said, that guy has no filter, and he was very candid about the fact that Charlotte is not a great boxing city, but it can be. What do we need to do, in your opinion, to make Charlotte a great boxing city?
Well, one of the first steps that we could take to make Charlotte a great boxing city, man, is really build these young champions up. You know, Michael Williams Jr., myself, we got Stevie Massey, we got Michael White, we got Jamal Gregor. We got a lot of good fighters coming out of Charlotte. We got my man, God, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry about that. But we got...
He's going to want to fight you now.
I know, right? But look, we got a lot of great fighters coming out of Charlotte, and we got a lot of young talent. So that's what we have to do to build the market in Charlotte. Is we have to continue to stick together as fighters, because everybody is always apart. Everybody's always competing against each other, and they're fighting over crumbs, and that's really not the way that you to build something. You know, people have to come together and people have to do joint ventures to make something really happen in the Carolinas. So I feel like that is something that can come in the near future. All we need is really a catalyst and someone to bring everybody together and kind of like that bridge and that middle ground to help really bridge the gap between people. So I feel like that's what we have to do.
I was telling Levante as we sat ringside, I've been to NBA games, I've been to Major League Baseball games, covered the NFL. I've never seen something as cool and as intimate as boxing. This local event brings together people in close, intimate contact with boxers. Talk about your love for boxing and how it developed and how it continues to grow.
Wow. You know what? I get this question a lot, and it's one of those things where I answer it slightly differently every time. Reason being is because, you know, it's an emotional thing for me, man, because boxing really saved my life. Boxing took me from a place, you know, where I was heading down the wrong path and kind of going the wrong way, and it got me back on track, and it got me to a place to where I could grow into a man properly, you know, and be the example that I needed to be for my little brother, for, you know, my cousins, and for everybody, you know, that was around me. It helped me to grow into the person that I needed to be. So boxing really saved my life, and it shaped me as a human. So, I mean,
if there are kids that like to fight out there, and the streets are rough, we all know what's going on in Charlotte in terms of some of the violence in the streets, but for this sake, I want to focus on what's happening positive in Charlotte. If there are kids that want to get into the fight game and don't know how to go about taking that first step to make their amateur dreams become professional realities, what would you say?
Man, you put that nice. I like that. Their amateur dreams become professional realities.
So they pay me the big bucks for me.
So the first thing that I would say is get to a gym. Get to a boxing gym and put the work in. There's this perception that you can come off the street, no training, and just go in and hop in the ring. No, this takes hard work and it takes dedication. And a lot of times these days in this generation, those are words that are like sickening to this generation. You know, hard work, dedication, something you got to stick to.
People don't want to work hard, especially the younger generation. At least the perception.
Yeah, that's the perception of it. So one thing that I could say is that if you want to get into boxing, find a good gym, find a good coach, and don't underestimate your amateur career. Don't run away from fights you think you're gonna lose. Don't try to avoid situations. Put yourself purposefully in things that are stressful, and put yourself in situations that are gonna grow you. Make yourself do things that you're scared to do, because that's the only way that you'll expand your mind and expand yourself and grow. So that's my advice, not only to somebody that's trying to get into boxing, but somebody that's trying to achieve anything or go towards anything in life, is put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Successful people aren't interested in comfort.
Levante Early stated that so well. Now, your next fight, March 16th, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we don't know who you're going to fight at that point, do you?
No.
Why?
Well, you know, it's a whole process, man. To fight. Yeah, that's what they say, man.
Kevin Tolbert said everybody's scared.
Oh man. You know, the truth is, man, it's a whole process, man. It's a whole thing that goes behind, you know, picking the right fighters, you know, picking the right step-up fights and things like that. You know, this is all about building, and this is all about hitting levels and challenging yourself. Just like I was saying about putting yourself in controlled stress situations. You know, it's a good thing. You know, it's a good thing to always put yourself in those situations. So that's what it takes to pick an opponent. You have to make sure that it's gonna move your rank up. You got to make sure that, you know, that your sponsorship or whoever's backing you can afford the cost of travel, can afford the cost of the opponent, the negotiations. There's a lot that goes into it, man. And as long as you have a smart team, and as long as you have a team that's working together, you know, those are the type of things that help build a champion, is their team. You know, so that's the biggest part of it, is really getting everybody together, all on one page, all for one goal, and that's making the fighter into a champion. You know, sometimes it's about the local shows and getting the win, but everybody needs to be building towards the win, and that's what you want to take a step up every single time you fight. You want to hit a new level every time that you step in that ring.
Tonight is a very important night from ADSN's perspective. We're promoting local boxing, and we're educating the viewer out there, you out there, about the process to get the fight, to come in front of your opponent, to win, the courage that it takes, all those intangibles. Levante Early, thank you so much. Appreciate the time, man. Best of luck to you, and we'll be there in March when you fight and hopefully win, my man.
Oh, definitely. I appreciate you guys. ADSN, you always show me love. I know I say this a million times, man. My man Tober, he always hold me down. I can always assure that I got a platform. No matter if I'm 7-0 or I'm 7-28, he gonna make sure that I got a platform, you know. And I appreciate that, man. I always am. Love.
We hope you're never 7-28. All right, Levante Early joining us. He's going to fight in March, and you should be here at Extravaganza. There's still time to get out and watch the main event. North Tryon Street, 1601 North Tryon Street. Come hang out with Levante and myself. We'll be back in a moment. Bow ties and boxing. It's fight night in Charlotte.
Physically and mentally.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kimber Walker, but no Lei'D.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow.
As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.
Coverage of bow ties and boxing continues from Extravaganza at 1601 North Tryon. To my right, Lady Tappa in the house. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So tonight, seeing a lot of great local boxing. First of all, why are you here?
I am here to support Vegas Grand Boxing Promotion. I've had 2 professional fights with them. Not only that, to support one of the women of the Carolina Fight Life, Killer Bee, which her fight didn't happen, but we wanted to be out here to support because we love the boxing.
What does support mean for a boxer when you're just coming up? You've had a great career and done many things, but obviously you started at the bottom and worked your way at the top. What does that support mean from the core?
It means a lot. Like being a heavyweight female already is tough enough trying to get fights. For boxing or MMA or anything, you know, I don't really sit in a category where it's easy access to get a fight. Like I have to work my ass off. Oh.
Yeah, no, you could say that. You could say that. Let it all out.
You know, you got to work harder than the norm just to get out there, and I'm just thankful to be here tonight and to be able to showcase what I do from boxing and other combat sports, from MMA to jiu-jitsu to wrestling.
There's a stigma surrounding women's fighting, and I know you're urging to get it out and get rid of it. What is that stigma, and how can we help you erase that in society's eyes?
Well, I think everybody has a way they look at women, period. But it's not even about that with me. It all started with me just training in wrestling and going into a school that had boxing and MMA and jiu-jitsu and meeting these females. A lot of the time, we're like the only ones training with guys. So I created Women of the Fight Life to come together and to be able to be in the Carolinas and support each other in the fight life here and showcase what we can do. I mean, we're not male or anything, and it's not like, hey, oh, you know, it's all about male, but there's something special about a woman. I mean, these women work a 9-to-5 job. They show up at the gym, they train, and then they go fight on the weekend and do it all over again. There's something special about that I feel like their stories can empower a lot of people around the world.
And you've been there, right? You've sacrificed and worked part-time jobs to make everything work and make your goals a reality. What was that process for you like? What hurdles did you overcome? Give us some tangible evidence that the next woman out there that wants to be just like you can grab onto and run with.
I actually started off in pro wrestling, so I worked for Impact Wrestling and I've worked for WWE. Even in that, and stepping into combat sports, MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu, it really opened my eyes to another level. And I just know, like, even for me, like, working and believing in something, you have to me, like, I believe in this so much to do what I do, that I want to showcase all these other women. Like, we have Girl Gang Sparring every Saturday where women around the Carolinas come together and we spar so we can get working and we can network and we can build with each other. It's more than a fight, it's the journey and the support system.
Where would you be personally without your outlets that you've had with wrestling and mixed martial arts? Where would you be in a different life?
Well, I grew up around business people, so my family has a business company. Me and my husband, we own barbershops around here in the Carolinas, so I'm very, like, besides the fight life, I'm very business oriented, so it's not only the business side, but there's something that I look that's for a need for women. I'm a woman myself, so I got to know these women that they're not heavyweight, they're smaller than me, but I got to talk with them and something about their story. We got, like, a fighter that's a mother, you know, we got a girl that's a sister. I mean, these stories go deep and I just want to share it. So I utilize this platform to create Women of the Carolina Fight Life for these women to come together, but to tell their stories.
I have to ask this, what's Vince McMahon like to work for?
He's nice. My uncle wrestled for them when they were WWF, the Barbarian. So it runs in my blood. So I've been around it all my life ever since I was little. So I learned a lot. I wouldn't be the woman I am today if it wasn't for being around all different experiences to learn how to mold who I am today.
Well, thank you very much for spreading some of that enthusiasm and your passion. Thank you for sharing that with our audience tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
My pleasure. ADSN's coverage of bow ties and boxing continues from Extravaganza. Lady Tappa in the house. Come join us. Coverage on a Saturday night. It is fight night in Charlotte, and we've talked to a multitude of talent behind the scenes. Levante Early, one of my favorite interviews, very well-spoken young man, and when I say very well-spoken, he's connected with what he wants to do and where he wants to go. We also talked to Lady Tappa, who actually seemed nervous behind the scenes, the professional fighter, WWE superstar, mixed martial arts master. All right, fantastic. The mastermind behind the scenes tonight. We're Extravaganza 1601 North Tryon. Thank you for joining us. What is this night? I know it's been a lot of hard work. Why don't you talk to us about all the behind the scenes work you've been doing?
Some of the behind the scenes, the work that we're doing is to making sure that every professional boxer that fights on the card, regardless of their records, that they are promoted and recognized properly. So most of the time, some of the professionals, you know, they get, depending on their record, they get more recognition. Most likely if they are the main event or the co-main event. So the special thing about the behind the scenes, process is that we promote all the fighters, regardless of their record.
You were very candid in the ring when you talked about friends with other promoters. What did you mean by that? That was a very interesting statement.
What's happening in our industry is that we have become competitors versus just embracing one another and the difference between the two in marketing and promotion. I think that as promoters we should come together, helping one another in our industry, because no one knows everything. There's no one promoter that knows everything. So I think we can be friends. Matter of fact, I think that we as promoters we could get together in the Carolinas and possibly take our visions to the Bojangles Coliseum, to the Spectrum, just like they do at UFC. They have so many fans that show up for the UFC, but as you can see, we only, pull just a very, very
small percentage. Yeah.
Small percentage. And so I think it's time for us to establish professional boxing in the Carolinas.
Yeah, well, it is up to promoting local boxing here in Charlotte. We had Danny Smalls and obviously Levante on, very well-spoken young man, and was very adamant about being disciplined and how much discipline it takes to succeed, not only in the ring, but out of the ring. Have you found that you needed that same discipline to succeed in your arena, what you're doing promoting this? Because promoting this is actually probably harder than training for the fight itself.
Exactly. There is definitely a discipline to this, and the discipline comes when you need to send those emails out, when you need to get your tickets printed in a timely manner, when you need to get your programs done, and you know.
We have a fighter walking past us. That's live TV for you right here. That's the ambiance that we're in. We're in close, intimate contact with these great local fighters. You could finish your thought.
Yeah, so the discipline part of that is to making sure that we have our checklists, and so that's definitely a discipline, is sticking to the checklist.
All right, fantastic, great job tonight. I know you're busy. Thanks for spending some time.
Thank you.
All right, Lavonda Early, one of the great, talented boxing promoters here in Charlotte. We continue with Bow Ties and Boxing. You should be here right now, 1601 North Tryon. We're at Extravaganza. It's an extravaganza of local boxing. ADSN 1's coverage continues. Bow Ties and Boxing.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kimber Walker, but no Lei'D.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow.
As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.
Lionel the Lion Charles joining us after TKO, and you started that fight very aggressive. What was your mindset in the first round? Looked like you just wanted to get it done and over with. You attacked him immediately.
My mindset was to come in there, do work. Why go 10 rounds when you could go 1 or 2? You know what I mean? And I'm just determined, and I got the desire to keep going. And, you know, and yeah.
For those of you that aren't following Lionel's career, you had a rough start, 0-7, but you've turned the corner, and I know you just told the ring announcer some really good stuff, but why don't you tell us what really turned your stuff around? What is at the core of your turnaround now?
Well, my record might say I'm 0-7, but I believe I'm 7. I have no losses. That's what I believe, because I feel like I haven't lost yet. You know what I mean?
It would have been easy for you to get down and get down about yourself, but who keeps you inspired? Who keeps you motivated?
Myself, my trainer.
Talk about your trainer. What does he mean to you?
He's a good trainer. You know, he always speaks to me. He doesn't always speak to me, but on the opposite side. But he speaks to me on the opposing side a lot of times. You know, so if I say yay, he says nay. You know, if I say nay, he says yay. You know what I mean?
He doesn't always co-sign you, is what you're saying.
Right. And you know, I guess I would have to say I don't want to feel like I don't want to feel like I'm not doing anything. You know what I mean? I notice that people don't like you, or they don't love you when you lose. People don't love you when you lose, but they love you when you win. Everybody loves a winner, you know? So I guess that's what's inspiring me, you know, the will to win and the will to be loved, I guess.
All right, man.
You know what I mean?
Great answer. Keep fighting. Keep chugging along. What does it mean for you to be in Charlotte fighting tonight at this event at the Extravaganza?
Say what?
What does it mean for you to be fighting at an event like this in front of all these people?
What does it mean?
Yeah, what does it mean for you?
Oh, I love to put on a show because I'm an entertainer. You know what I mean? I'm an entertainer, so, you know, I like to put on a show for people, and I'm just a fighter and an entertainer. And it means a lot to me to perform in front of people, show my talent, show my skill, and show that I'm the best.
Congratulations.
I am the best fighter out here at my weight class and any weight class under me. That's that.
What's next for you, Lion?
What's next for me? Keep on going on the winning streak, and I want what everybody wants. I want a big fight, and I want the money, and that's a fact.
Congratulations, man. Thank you very much. All right. Lion Charles. Lionel the Lion Charles exudes confidence, exudes passion, exudes enthusiasm, and that's very case in point of what we're seeing tonight. Boxers, local boxers, and I'm getting a very good idea of what's keeping local boxing intact. We are here at the Extravaganza at Bow Ties and Boxing at 1601 North Tryon Street, right in the heart of the city of Charlotte, right outside Uptown. Our coverage continues. ADSN providing not blow-by-blow coverage. We're not streaming fights tonight. We're doing something better, bringing you behind the scenes, giving you an in-depth, intimate look at what this event really entails. The heart of local boxing is right here at ADSN. Back in a minute.
Charlotte, North Carolina's very own Willie Lump.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kimber Walker, but no Lei'D.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time. Wow. As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.
I've never seen, I don't think I ever even saw that with Mike Tyson, an 11-second knockout. Talk to us about that left hand you threw.
Oh, yeah, that hook, you know, he threw a punch at me. I had to slip it, came with a boot. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying? I hit hard, but, you know, I kind of wanted to do more.
I know you hit hard, and probably much harder than me, but the punch didn't look like it had much on it. Talk to us about that, because it looked like you caught him in the back of the head. Did you catch him fully?
Well, I caught him. It wasn't really a full hook, but it was
enough to put him down.
Enough to put him down. Yeah.
When you get knockouts like that, does that help you to your next fight, or would you rather have had a longer fight?
Well, that one I kind of rather have a longer one, but you know, it is what it is. You know, any given Sunday, any given day, you never know what happened. You know what I'm saying? So,
talk to us about the nickname. One of the great nicknames in sports, Willie Lump Harvey. Where did the lump come from?
Oh yeah, they say Willie Lump was always, you know, a military thing. Always was a part of my language. Always was a fuck up. You know what I'm saying? So my name Willie Lump because I do the fucking up. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. That's where I get it from. And I've been at it for years. You know.
What is the state of local boxing, Lump? Where are we at? How can we promote it better?
How can we promote it better?
What are your? Let me change that question around. What are your hopes for the sport of boxing, at least locally? What are your hopes and dreams for 2019? Because we're just getting into the year.
Oh, my hopes and dreams for 2019 to be the champ. You know, have the whole city of Charlotte on my back, you know what I'm saying, and have all the support I can get, you know what I'm saying. Soon to be champion. Soon I'll be champion, you know what I'm saying. I've been in this game long enough, you know what I'm saying. I've been boxing since I was 9 years old. You know, my father fought Bernard Hopkins, David Telesco, Johnny B. Smagari before everybody, you know what I'm saying. So, you know, I want to be champ, and that's what I'm going to be. And this is my trainer right here, man, so. Go on.
You want to come on with us and talk about Lump's victory? You have to be very proud of him. An 11-second knockout for your partner, Willie Lump.
Oh, absolutely, man. We work hard in the gym, man. You know, one of the hardest hitting people I ever worked with, man. You know, he a beast. I mean, I believe, man, if we was a hey, his motivation out with that Deontay Wilder, eventually he gonna work his way up, and we're gonna knock his ass out too.
Who's ducking him? Is that Dante? Do you guys want to fight Dante this year?
No, we got Hakeem Rockman Jr. ducking me. You know what I'm saying? We got a couple of fighters out there ducking me that I want. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just waiting to hear for the call, so hear from the fight and get it set. You know what I'm saying? And then soon, one of these days, I'll be at the top with Deontay Wilder, knocking him out too.
They don't want to fight him. They don't want to fight him.
I want Wilder brother too. He got a brother out here in the heavyweight too. I want his brother too.
I do want to transition and talk to you about something seriously that you said in the ring a couple of hours ago. You expressed sentiments about a young man that had passed away. Do you want to share that with our viewers and talk about his legacy and his life?
Yeah, absolutely, man. When I first met him, man, he was talking about he just got out the military.
What's his name, by the way?
Kareem. Kareem. We call him K. I call him K. Kareem. And you know, he was telling me get out the Army, man, and he listens a lot. You know, he had an awkward type style, so I think he would have really been good in this boxing game. And you know, I was working with him, and you know, I think I took a few days off, and next thing you know, Willie sat me with the news, man, and it was a heartbreaker. You know, when
how did he die?
He got killed.
Was he shot?
Yes, yes. And
too much of that violence happening in Charlotte, you guys. Way too much.
Yeah, it really is, man. I wish it could stop, but man, you know, people gonna be people. It's the real world that we live in, you know.
How can we affect the youth? How can we affect positive change with this sport, with mentorship? Why don't you tell people out here what kind of structure these kids need so we can stop having these kids come up dead on these streets?
Hey, I would just tell everybody, man, to get in the gym. I mean, we get a lot of people come in the gym, you know, thinking that they can street fight, and they come and learn that street fight stuff don't work, and that humbles them down. Then that there gets their attention that, you know, this is a sport that needs to be learned, you know. So I think, man, you know, what I would say, man, everybody just get in the gym, man. Just get in the gym, come to the gym and, you know, take your anger out, your frustration out in a positive way, you know.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good words, good messages. Congratulations. Willie Lump Harvey, an 11-second knockout, caught as an opponent with the left here at Bow Ties in Boxing. Lump, do you want to say anything before we sign out?
Oh, yeah, I just want to shout everybody out who came to see me. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my sponsor, Millie Up. You know, shout out to my family, friends, fans, everybody. You know, I love all y'all, man. And shout out to that man upstairs. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have none of this strength.
Willie Lump Harvey, a victor in 11 seconds. Good victory, my man. Take care. Keep fighting your way up to the top. We're at Bow Ties in Boxing here at Extravaganza, 1601 North Tryon Street in the city of Charlotte. ADSN's coverage continues from the Queen City. It's fight night in Charlotte, and we will continue with more interviews just to reset what we're doing here, bringing you behind the scenes, backstage, giving you coverage you can't get anywhere else. Fantastic. You're on ADSN, and what does it mean for you to be here tonight to help promote boxing?
You know, it's good seeing everybody, the younger people coming up, building their records up. So it's good just be out here just to see new talent and everybody else that's striving to be great.
What is the boxing game like? What is the new batch of talent like? What can we expect in the next couple of years?
The new batch of talent is amazing because it's so many different styles. It's like there's no direct style. Everybody has a different style. It's nothing that we've seen back in the days. Everything is advanced. So the styles have gotten a lot better, and I think it's more entertaining.
I, for one, cannot stand when we're talking about like the NBA and they're saying, well, LeBron James was better than Michael Jordan. To me, there's no way to compare generations. It's an unfair comparison. The same thing in boxing. Don't you agree? It's hard to compare Mike Tyson to another guy that fought 20 years after Tyson fought. Is that your feeling about boxing, too? It's hard to compare generations?
You can't compare generations. And with that being said, like, you can't compare Floyd to Roy Jones or Ali or somebody like that because everybody is from different areas. It's different styles, different type of fighters. Floyd's a defensive fighter. Back then, you couldn't be a defensive fighter and win fights. You had to fight.
Right.
So, as the era changed, everything changes. So everything advances. So all right, now it's the objective of swimming and don't get wet. So getting hit is not a main prerogative. It's just hit and don't get hit. That's the sport of boxing. So it's not like it used to be. Everybody don't have to fight each other at the same time, and which I don't like. That's the only part I don't like these days is you can pick and choose who you fight. Back then, you know, you had to fight everybody. He had a belt. There's only one belt, so you had to go to that belt. So,
what do you make of Willie Lump Lump Harvey's 11-second victory tonight?
Oh man, it was amazing. It was a perfect hook. It was a perfect hook, and I love it.
All right, my man. Take care. Keep promoting local boxing. What's next for you?
I fight here March 16th for the IBO. We're bringing the IBO to the Carolinas, so that's what's next for me.
Levante Harvey's card, right?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. Local boxing coverage continues at ADSN, ADSN1.com. It is Bow Ties and Boxing in the Queen City. It's Fight Night in Charlotte at the Extravaganza, 1601 North Tryon Street. ADSN's coverage continues. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolinas' #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kimber Walker, but no Leezy.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow.
As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.
Daquan Towns joining us, Bow Ties and Boxing, ADSN's exclusive coverage. First of all, what did you think about the card tonight?
Oh, it was a great show, man. A lot of great talent, great atmosphere, man. It's always a pleasure to come and watch and see other guys in your profession move up just like you did. So, man, it was a great show.
The effort to promote local boxing is ongoing. Obviously, boxing is up and down, peaks and valleys with this sport. But as far as you're concerned, Daquan, where is boxing right now in terms of prominence, in terms of the talent batch?
Right now, to me, it's at an all-time high. Not like back in the day where it was, but
is it a different kind of talent than back in the day, and why?
Oh yeah, it's a big difference because back in the day it was actual like fighters. They fought 15, 16 rounds. You know, in today's sport of boxing, it's all about money. Back in the day, they just love to fight. It's a big part of boxing today is it got to do with a lot of money because boxing has evolved so much from back then, and a big part of it was money. So back then, it's like watching college football and watching pro football. College football can always be better than NFL because the guys in college are actually fighting for the love of the sport. They're not getting paid. They're fighting for the love. So when they move up to pro, you see some guys get them big checks and they slack off a little bit because they're getting paid good. It's just like that with boxing. Back then it wasn't a lot of money. They was getting paid, but it wasn't like today they getting paid. So that to me, that's the difference.
Daquan, what's next for you?
Oh man, to keep winning, man. Keep winning. I tell everybody.
How are you gonna do that?
By staying in shape, by staying on top of my game, man. Like I tell everybody, man, when I won this title, it only made me hungry to win more. I want all of them. I want to be #1 in every category, not just one. I want every category. So when my career is over and I look at my resume, I can say, man, I did that.
How many more times can you do this? How many more belts can you accomplish?
Every one in my weight class. I'm going down to get them. I can do it as long as I want. You got to think about it. These boxers now retiring in their 40s. You know, I'm 30. So, yeah, I got a lot more left in me. Got a lot more. I just fought my first 10-round fight, and I never fought a 6 or 8-round fight.
How was that experience, and what is the level of training? How does your level of training increase as you go up 6 to 8 to 10? Because I'll tell you, I've hit a punching bag for 3 minutes, and I was totally out of shape, totally flabbergasted. What is that jump like?
You got to think about it. I never fought a 6, and I never fought an 8-round fight. So what my coach did, when I was sparring, my coach made me start sparring 5- and 6-minute rounds, sometimes with no break, to make sure I get used to fighting just fighting dead tired. And it helped in the fight because I never got tired. I never got, if you look at my last fight, I kept the same pace the whole, from round 1 all the way to round 10. I never got tired. I was running with 60-pound weight vests on 5-pound ankle weights on my ankles. So I got in training, I got used to carrying a lot of weight. So in a fight, I was good. I was at my natural weight. I was training at over 260, 270 pounds with all the weights on me. So when it was time for me to fight at 195, 200, I was good. I was good. I had all the wind in the world.
Last question. With so much money involved in boxing, is there a level of corruption that you're concerned about as far as winning fights? Because there's a lot of money changing hands. Do you ever get concerned about that?
No, I never get concerned about money, man. With that, I got all the faith in God, man. God told me the love of money is the root of all evil. I don't love money, so I don't worry about money. The money gonna come. The money gonna always come. Keep God first, and keep somebody in your corner that you can trust. You ain't gotta worry about money.
Daquan, thank you very much for stopping by, talking to us, and promoting the sport.
Thank you, man. I appreciate y'all, man. My man said he next, so let him get next.
Right, Daquan Towns, capping off a great night of local boxing, bow ties and boxing from Extravaganza at 1601 North Tryon Street. ADSN's exclusive coverage of this event will continue as we continue our effort to promote local boxing.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kimber Walker, but no Leezy.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow.
As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.
We are back, bow ties and boxing. Kevin Tolbert sending me the interviews fast and furious now. Walter, it was a great night of boxing. You emceed this whole event. Talk to us about your thoughts about the card as we're now finished with it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a very young card. What Lavonda Early does with Vegas Grand Boxing Promotions is she's offering a platform for these young boxers to turn professional and move up in growth. As they're growing, Vegas Grand Boxing Promotions is growing. It was a good, solid card.
We've done a multitude of interviews tonight, Lavonda being one of them, Levante Early being one of them as well. And I know that you have the same opinion that Levante is a well-spoken, focused, and dedicated young man. That family, how important is that family to the local boxing scene now?
Let me tell you something. It's not just important that now they're in the professional ranks. That started in the amateur background when his mother used to support him as an amateur. They had a big network. Now, from a professional standpoint, it's huge. It is huge that they are in Charlotte. Boxing is here to stay. Vegas Grand Boxing Promotions is the way for many in the future right here in Charlotte.
Michael Williams Jr. obviously being influenced by Roy Jones will fight on February 8th. You had a chance to interview him in the ring. He walks with a hell of a lot of confidence. What are your thoughts about his career and his team behind him? Because as I've learned tonight, the team is critical to the growth and maturation of the fighter.
Well, absolutely. Michael Williams Jr. is now 8-0 as a professional. He's fought, out of those 8, he's had 8 fights that was in Florida. The other 7 were in state. Out of those 7, I've had the opportunity to announce 4 of those 7 fights. So I've seen a lot of Michael Williams Jr. And I'll tell you what, that support system is crucial. But as he has moved up with his opponents, each and every one, it's a tougher match, it's a tougher bout each time he gets in the ring, and he keeps stepping up. What people don't understand, this kid is only 19 years old.
That's shocking to me because he walks with the swagger of a 25, 26-year-old man.
Absolutely, but one thing about that young man is he is confident, but not overly arrogant. He's not cocky. As you'll see in highlights, he does his talking in the ring.
What to make of Willie Lump Lump Harvey's 11-second knockout?
Well, I never expected it to be that quick. Whenever you get two large, big, strong men, especially when they're starting early in their boxing careers, that's a lot of power that's flying. And if it lands correctly, it can be lights out real quick, and that's what happened.
What did we learn tonight from the bow ties in boxing that we didn't know before we walked in? What can we take away from this event? It's a positive building block for boxing in and around Charlotte.
Well, if you looked at the card, not only the card, but if you looked at the number of celebrity boxers that supported Levante early and came out here, A, in attendance, but B, to interact with the fans, it shows that the boxing community in North Carolina is strong. There's a lot of talent. We're looking out for each other, and there's a lot of upward growth in many areas within this boxing circle.
Why don't you promote a couple of events that you may think may draw an interesting crowd? Just throw something out there to our viewers that you may think they may be interested in.
I guess I don't understand that specific question.
Just, do you want to promote something upcoming that, yeah.
I do. Let me tell you something. One of the biggest shows to hit not only Charlotte, North Carolina, but North Carolina in general is going to happen March 16th, 2018, right here in the Extravaganza in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're going to have the 20-0 DeAndre the Matrix Robinson Neal coming up from Columbia, South Carolina. He's going to battle for the IBO championship belt. It's going to be electric in this house, and I hope you're here.
We will be here along with Walter Wade. I'm Ryan Hedrick. ADSN's coverage of bow ties and boxing, presented by Las Vegas Grand Boxing, a grand success, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Whenever Vegas Grand Boxing Promotions is in the house, victory occurs, and that's what happened tonight.
All right, for Walter Wade, I'm Ryan Hedrick, ADSN, signing off from the Extravaganza right out of uptown Charlotte. It's fight night in Charlotte, folks. Good night.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kimber Walker, but no Lei'D.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow.
As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports. Best food around.